all of our investors' data is spread all over the place, to say the least. Depending on how old you are, you can pick a format, and that's what it is in. So our key is to get all of that data into a single, readable, normalized format, so the likes of our advisors can make proper decisions. Simple things like talking to a high-value customer, and they may not know the investments that that billionaire has with a 360 view. That was one of the, so identifying those opportunities, we started with high-value customers. I think it was 5 million and above, and a handful of billionaires in there. But figuring out when you're talking to them to have an intelligent conversation with all the data that they have, not only performance, but their risk appetite, where they are invested, what's performing, what they need to change. Those simple conversations that a lot of us take for granted when we talk to our FAs thinking they know better than me, we were unable to have. So that was one of our biggest use cases, for lack of a better term, that we picked. And simply by getting that data normalized in the right place, choosing the right tools to make that available, to give them that 360 view of a very specific niche client. We were able to start there, and now we are going lower. That'll become a normalized way of how an advisor actually has a discussion with a client.
AI will do a lot of things, from robots to everything else. But if you're talking about data analytics, the way I would measure it is it's just making decisions faster when it comes to data analytics. So my example would be, in our world, we put lots of quotes out there for contractors and all that, and you get tons, and you can only do so much and bid on so many. So if you're able to measure what's my throughput, what's my efficiency gain in terms of decision making, and being able to output data compared to before I did AI, that's a simple metric. That's how I would measure it.
There's one aspect of back we were thinking about data warehouse, then we went to data lake, then data lake house, and then we could talk about many other formats as well. I think it kind of goes back to the problem is, are you willing to store all your data in one location? And that could be one, because you want to be able to get actionable insights from that particular data. As we move towards the new era of innovation with agentic AI, now you can have sub-agents which can go across multiple data platforms to get that data. So i.e. you're building a kind of an agent framework, or agent garden, I guess I would say, from that perspective onward. But you still need to look through all of the other factors, which is governance, risk, scalability as well, and ethics as well, as part of really enabling all of the insights from that perspective onward, and as to what platform you'll actually select based on how much insights you want to drive. So if you've got real-time insights that you want to do, your platform selection might actually differ.
The way we engage with AI and how we use AI to actually help us to curate our data. We had unstructured, structuring it, then curating the data. And then we actually use AI to look at our other AI and LLMs. Are they accurately behaving the way they're behaving for false positives? So it's a lot more when it comes to analytics than just producing some output of it, but it's more about how do you get that output accurately presented. So that's where we're focusing on our side.
2010, the problem implementing BI was that data was messy and siloed and all over the place. In 2010, you couldn't do ML because data was siloed and messy and all over the place. In 2025, you can't do AI because data is siloed and messy and all over the place. Right? So the fundamental problem there is that in order for any of those things to work, one needs things like data warehouse, data lake, lakehouse. And if you haven't invested in that time and energy to build those platforms, then you're at a loss.
It is a slow battle.
Stick or a carrot, or
it's a little bit of both, and it kind of depends on the situation. I think what we've tried to do is find I'm always like, help me, help you, help me. So what can I do, and how can I sell this to you? And it's really not selling. That's actually a wrong word to use, but it's how can I bridge the gap between you understanding that you want this and that here's what I can do. And then there's some stuff up front that would be really helpful. So can we come together and work on things? And I think we chose very specific things that touch the entire organization first, found a couple wins, and then we knew of things that were pebbles in people's shoes. In my world, because everybody needs to maximize their funding, we usually find the things that there's money attached to it. How can I get you additional QBP dollars? How can I get you additional or save you X, Y, and Z, and so you have more into your budget? So we work closely with our finance teams, our HR teams, those sorts of things, and find it. Now that we've sort of, the aha moment has happened, now what we're trying to do is say, okay, let's go back, let's do some retrospective, and then let's build this into all our processes.
The key is to identify one or two champions who are with you all the way and make them incredibly successful and promote the heck out of them. So to make them look good in front of their peers who don't want to miss out.
We did the same thing with our marketing department and our operation department. They're the big users of data. So when we did our POC, we went there by to show them what the capability of the system. And because of that, they were able to be our champion, like you said, and get approval for the budget.
Data governance starts the conversation, right? Because we tend to be the gatekeepers. Someone will say, well, I want all the warranty claims, buy this, right? So you go, well, if you talk to the owner, well, who's the owner, right? So in our data governance talks, you have the owner. Then you facilitate a conversation. All of a sudden, the owner said, well, you're going to misrepresent my data. Everybody gets very proprietary, and it's a bit of a carrot and stick, but the stick is also orange, right? And let them beat themselves together, right? Yeah, but and also we have multiple divisions, so we tend to be the autonomous collective. So allow everyone to have their own analytics of choice that works within their embedded systems and also augments the reporting, but also can be used as analytics. So it'd be impossible for us to have a data lake just because of the nature of the business. So I would call it more of a data reservoir that's provided just in time based on using APIs to connect and fold and extract based on data governance rules. And then all of a sudden, everyone's got the right information and they can tumble it. And if they don't understand it, they can go back to the owner of the data. So I think it's really back to that governance. Like, I'm a big believer in governance just because it starts the conversation and then everything else falls in place.
In most ways, we're just using sort of standard AI in our background processes and putting a lot of effort and energy into data modernization. So we're in the beginning stages of a complete pension application modernization, be the biggest thing this organization's ever done. We spent the last couple of years engaging with our executive team and building what we call a data action team, so that they have their trusted advisor who tells them that, yes, that's really necessary. No, it's not necessary. We've invested in educating, turns out to be about 10 or 12 people who go back to their business areas and kind of advance the cause and advocate for what they believe to be true. And we come together as a data action team to determine what the organization needs to do. So the big thing for us is, in data modernization, we have to go through a major conversion. So there is an opportunity there for us to modernize the data. And so we're standing back and saying, okay, how do we get what we call the 2-for-1? How do we actually get our data modernized in a way that supports this new application? So it's way more disaggregated than the data we had previously. And at the same time, how do we instill all those good capabilities and those good hygiene measures and a much greater understanding of the data model and the data catalog and how to relate that in business terms? So actually, our big push is now. We started previously with a slogan that was cyber is everyone's business. And now we have data is everyone's responsibility. And so it isn't just an executive team anymore. It's the whole organization. And it's easier in some pockets than others, but I would say they all know and understand, and we've all committed to the board that we're going to do it together. And so there's a reasonable understanding.
It was true in the 30 years that I've been running IT. I'm guessing it's true in this organization, in the rest of the room here, that IT has notoriously centralized everything they could and too much. Right? I think it become very clear, especially with real-time analytics, that real-time usually is only a single system problem. right? I'm going to go to the mortgage system. I'm going to go to the banking system. I'm going to go to the school system, the management, the maintenance system. And that's where the real time comes into play. Very rarely is it a multi-system, get things together in a data lake, data warehouse, because those aren't real time problems. Those are dashboard problems. So if embedded becomes important, then it's embedded analytics, it's embedded AI, it's embedded functions, which means that's a federated architecture of real time versus a centralized architecture of real time. And that's where we need to philosophically move our architectures, is we need to think about what's more important to stay there versus more important to bring together. Because bringing together creates the data quality, it creates the timeliness, it creates the governance problems versus keeping it where it is and doing the good work there.
My programs or my, departments, they're run by doctors and nurses. There's no way that I'm going to get the chief of medicine or the chief of emergency or the chief of, to say that I'm going to take control over my data and analytics. It's always going to have to be a centralized function, to a point where at a minimum, probably the best I can get to is a drag and drop functionality in a BI tool, right? Where they can go in and they need something really quick. That's assuming I can get them to really understand the data literacy and the differences between, how medicine works from the ED from mental health, because although they're all in the same system, that data does not mean the same thing, even though you're putting it in the same spot. What we've kind of chosen to kind of do, to your point of like real-time analytics, is what is the step that needs to come to the data warehouse that, again, is that more monitoring? I might need to see it at 8 o'clock in the morning or once a week, once a month, once a quarter. And then what are the things that I can point my BI tool to that can give me that real time, right? We're also challenged with what real time means, because I'm always like, what do you mean real time? Do you mean like in this second, like if you go? Because there's also in some, I think, sectors and with some groups that they don't know what to do with real time. That it's like they don't understand that 2 seconds from now, that number could look very different. An hour from now, that could look really different. And so it's also going to be, in transitioning to real time, it's going to be, how do you use that? How do you action it? How do you feel comfortable when, in terms of, do I pull the trigger? Do I pull the trigger? Do I pull the trigger?